like to would like to greet our special guest for today, Mr. Abdul Hakim Idris, Executive Director at the Center for Uyghur Studies, and also Mr. Abdul Muqtadir Udun, Project Manager at the Center for Uyghur Studies. And also we have Dr. Tiar Anwar Tiar from Merpa University. We also have Mr. Anton Lubis, Chairman at Indonesia National Council and also CYF, ASEAN Region Vice President. I also would like to greet Ms. Astin Rizkita, President at OIC Youth Indonesia, Dr. Asep Setiawan, lecturer at Muhammadiyah Jakarta University, Dr. Nur Isman, Director of P3M University of Ulama Jakarta, and also Mr. Midwan Shafrid, PhD, is the Chair of Board of Expert Al-Wasliyan. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to the agenda by opening our agenda for today by presenting us together. The next agenda, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Abdul Hakim Idris as Executive Director at Center for Youth. The floor is yours.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. First of all, I'll thank you for your hospitality for recent trip to Indonesia. I see him, Dr. Tiar Anwar Bakhtiar and Dr. Asap Satawian, Mr. Tantan Taufiq and Dr. Nur Isma, and Dr. Nirwan Saifin, and Sister Astrid Nadia, and even Ruru, for your hospitality and your cooperation with us during our recent trip to Indonesia. So I'd like to start by giving a brief introduction of our center. Our center was founded in 2020 and headquartered in Washington, D.C. We are a research-based organization that combines academic research, advocate for the rights of the Uyghur Muslim people. Our research objectives include Uyghur language, religion, ethnic preservation, focus on educating public about China's war against Islam and the Uyghur ethnicity, especially in the Muslim majority countries. Present evidence on the Uyghur genocide and organize conference and deliver our funding to public. I can probably say today we are here to present you with our report on Islamophobia in China. In terms of our activities, we are currently focusing on raising awareness on China's war on religion, particularly in Islam in East Turkestan, Uyghur genocide, exposing China's false propaganda around the Islamic world by organizing different conferences, cultural events. For the purpose, we have been working closely with universities and non-governmental organizations in the West and the East, and especially in the Islamic institutions. And we would like to expand our networks, and I'm very happy to say today's event is the result of such a collaboration. Uyghurs are a part of the Islamic Ummah. Uyghurs have 1,000 years Islamic traditions. Uyghur Muslims have always considered themselves as a part of the Islamic Ummah and the Islamic world. Since Chinese occupation is Turkestan, they have been trying to destroy this historical truth by destroying Islam and our homeland, and they assimilate the Uyghurs to Han Chinese. China has maintained a hostile attitude toward religions. Since its foundation in 1949. This kind of hostility now reached the level of openly waging war on religions. For example, Uyghur genocide, at some point, it has gone to the level of partial tolerance at the base and the strict to this, and have been fighting relentlessly for their ethnic Islamic identity and for their freedom. Genocide is taking place. However, the Islamic Ummah is not fully under currently informed about these matters because China's full-scale propaganda campaign towards the Islamic world. Our new report to be released today aims to address this very issue. In this report, as stated in the title, covers the Islamophobia in China and its disinformation campaign around the world and the attitude of Islamic countries, as well as answer to the question of what prompted the lack of the urgency and this disinclined attitude in the Muslim world, are all presented with the facts and the evidence. I believe this report fills an important gap in this field. However, it's challenging to combat China's propaganda with they invested billions of dollars around the world, and at the same time present a complete and accurate way to how China's war against Islam and inform the public about the Uyghur genocide. A single organization alone cannot accomplish this task. Our research activities in this area will continue, and we need more cooperation and the support from each of you here today and institutions around the world. Finally, I wish today's event a success. Thank you so much for the participating. Look forward to continuing to work with you, inshallah, in the future. Jazakallah khair.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Abdul Hakim, for the welcoming remarks that actually highlight regarding the situation in Uyghur, and also how could we respond, or how could the Islamic countries respond regarding the issue about Uyghur. All right, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to the next agenda, we directly jump up to the report presentation from project manager at the Center for Study Uyghur Studies. I would like to give the floor to Mr. Abdul Muqtadir. The floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
That's great. Assalamu alaikum to thank you for having me, and thank you for helping us organize this event. So I'll just jump into the report. So we have been working on this report for the past year. I believe it is probably the first report that studies the Islamophobia in China in depth, in comparison with the ongoing Uyghur genocide and China's war on Islam in East Turkestan. So this is a report on Islamophobia in Chinese society, where we look at the history of Islamophobia in China, particularly since the foundation of the People's Republic of China. Then we detail China's war on Islam, particularly in East Turkestan, since 1949, and most recently since 2017. And then finally, we look at the attitudes of Muslim countries on China's Islamophobic policies and the ongoing genocide in East Turkestan. So the Islamophobia, like we hear the term Islamophobia quite often in the West, particularly where I'm living now in Canada. We now have a special representative on combating Islamophobia, which is appointed by the current Prime Minister. However, it is not unique to Western countries. Actually, Islamophobia might have been imported or inspired by other dictatorships around the world, particularly China. So Islamophobia, so our finding is that Islamophobia in China has historical, cultural, and political roots, because the Chinese culture particularly sees every religion other than Buddhism or Taoism a foreign religion to China, and claims that all other religions, including Islam, Christianity, foreign religions to China, or even like foreign invaders to China. So in an official Chinese document in 2017, the Chinese Communist Party claims that Islam is foreign to the Uyghur Muslims in East Turkestan. So what makes Islamophobia in China worse is that the state system, the state ideology is based on communism, which is based on atheism. And of course, communism is opposed to all religions. So every religion, if you look at this graph by Reuters, there's Catholicism, Buddhism, Islam, Protestant, Taoism, and other religions in China. And the Chinese authorities, to a certain extent, repress the religious freedom of all religious adherents, including Muslims, Christians, and other adherents of other faiths. So after 9/11, the CCP has used the global war on terror to wage a war on Islam. China has claimed that it is also a victim of war on terror, and used the international environment to clamp down on rightful practices of the Uyghur Muslims, and initiated a state-sponsored legitimized war on Islam, where they have repressed every the religious freedom of Uyghurs to a large extent, and also China has been able to, until recent years, get away with its religious repression, which has led to the genocide and the all-out war on Islam starting in 2017. So in 2017, a Chinese official document called Islam an infectious disease, and claims that it has to be cured like all other mental illnesses. And then there's also a term called Sinicization of Islam, which is promoted by the CCP. The Sinicization of Islam means all Islamic values must become compliant with the communist ideology, with the state agenda, and the religion has to exist only to serve the interests of the Communist Party, which of course contradict with the universally acknowledged universal religious freedom and human rights. Sinicization also means, particularly in the case of East Turkestan, cleansing Islam of all Arabic and Turkic elements. Since Xi Jinping came to power in 2013, the Communist Party has stressed the implementation of Sinicization of Islam. Most recently, last year in July 2022, when Xi Jinping visited Urumqi, he stated that Islam must be Chinese in orientation and adhere to socialism. So he gave direct instructions to his Chinese officials to increase the war on Islam, basically. So as you said, the China's war on Islam started when the Chinese army has invaded East Turkestan in 1949. So immediately after the invasion of East Turkestan, the Chinese regime closed down Islamic schools, madrasas, banned Islamic education, jailed and murdered Islamic scholars, destroyed mosques by converting them into pig barns, restaurants, and destroying many mosques. China has also, especially during the Cultural Revolution, repressed the religious practices of Uyghurs greatly. And then after in 1980s, the Chinese authorities have, to a limited extent, allowed Islamic allowed the Uyghur Muslims to practice their religion. So the Uyghur Muslims have tried to rebuild some of the mosques that have been destroyed during the Cultural Revolution, and use the limited space to educate their children in Islam and to kind of revive their faith. However, it did not last long. In the 1990s, the Chinese authorities have started again to repress the religious freedom of Uyghurs, and then of course it developed into an all-out war on Islam in the beginning of 2017. So from 2017, the Chinese authorities have used the all Islamic practices as pretext to sending Uyghur Muslims to concentration camps. So literally today, every Islamic practice in East Turkestan is criminalized and used as a pretext to torturing and detaining the Uyghur Muslims. Like if you look at this photo here, we see that the Chinese authorities have are confiscating the Quran and religious texts from Uyghur homes and burning them. As we've said, a Chinese document called Islam, a Mental Illness, and all cultural and religious, the traditional Uyghur buildings and architecture have been demolished. So this is if we look at this, graph, it shows the reasons the Chinese authorities uses to detain Uyghurs. It includes like having a beard, wearing a hijab, refraining from smoking, quitting smoking and drinking, wearing a shirt with Arabic letters, like traveling abroad, particularly to Muslim majority countries, including Malaysia, Indonesia, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Egypt. So the Muslim majority countries are on the list of countries where the Uyghurs are detained for visiting them. So in the second chapter of this report, we outlined China's war on Islam since 1949, and particularly after 2017. And after that, we look at China's disinformation campaign in the Islamic world. So while China is waging a war on Islam in East Turkestan, and also in China overall to the Muslims, like there are other Muslims in China, like the Hui Muslims, they have, of course, relative freedom. However, there have been reports that the religious practice of Hui Muslims have also been restricted in recent years. So while China is waging a war on Islam in East Turkestan and in other parts of China, China is deploying a large disinformation campaign in the Islamic world as part of it is disinformation campaign in the world. So the China's disinformation campaign in the Islamic world is very strong, and it includes various methods like the economic leverage China uses through Belt and Road Initiative, influencing the media in Muslim majority countries, and manipulating social media and employing social media influencers to spread China's propaganda. Also, China uses this state media like the CGTN to produce content, to produce propaganda that spreads false claims about Uyghur Muslims, about its Islamophobic policies. Also, China works with several major media outlets in the Islamic world to spread its propaganda. So we found that China's China has used China has produced a large Arabic content and uses Arabic language speakers from China as well as from the Arab world to spread propaganda about China and about its war on Islam in the Islamic world, particularly targeted on Arabic speakers. If you happen to see a fluent Chinese Arabic speaker who tries to portray a friendly image of China, you have to think and you have to check whether what they are saying is true, because China has, like in the past several decades, China has sent its students to study in the Arabic world and become the agents of the Chinese regime. So the most important leverage China has used to keep the Muslim majority countries from speaking out against the Uyghur genocide is economic leverage, particularly the Belt and Road Initiative. In addition, there is another method the Chinese regime uses to spread a false image of its war on Islam against the Uyghurs, particularly the staged visit of Muslim scholars, journalists, academics, and politicians to East Turkestan. So this, if you look at this bar chart, we can see that China has used over the years, starting from 2019, to invite Muslim journalists, scholars, academics, and government officials to visit East Turkestan. Of course, the visit will be censored, and visitors will only be shown places that have already been prepared for them to see. So they cannot, during their visit, they don't have freedom to speak to Uyghur Muslims. They are only allowed to speak to like people who are already who have already been arranged. So we have one case like the Dr. Olsi Jazishi, who went on such a visit to find out the truth, because before that he was deceived that the Western media is saying is a US propaganda. So he wanted to find out the truth by himself. So he went on one of these visits and found out the truth, even through a staged visit. So this year, last August, China has invited diplomats from 30 Muslim majority countries in a staged visit after a global campaign called Send for Uyghurs to spread its propaganda. And this year, beginning of this year, you've seen that there was a major social media outcry against so-called Muslim scholars visiting East Turkestan, and then spread the China's propaganda. So arranging staged visits to East Turkestan and sending Chinese delegations to Muslim majority countries is one of the tools that the Chinese regime uses to spread its disinformation again among the Muslims. Lastly, in the last chapter, we look at the failure of the OIC and Muslim majority countries speaking out against Uyghur genocide. So far, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation has not condemned China's war on Islam and China's religious persecution of Uyghur Muslims. Instead, the OIC has been strengthening its relations with China to the extent that in March 2022, the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi was invited to the OIC summit in Islamabad, and he also delivered a speech. In 2019, when 22 Western countries issued a letter drawing attention to the human rights violations in East Turkestan, 50 countries, including OIC member states, published a counter letter supporting China. And most recently, in October 2022, the UN Human Rights Council put forward a motion to discuss the Uyghur human rights in the next Council General Session. However, this vote was defeated because all the Muslim majority countries who are members of the Council either voted against or abstained from the vote. So this was a missed opportunity to hold China accountable after so many years of atrocities and international condemnation, and it was defeated. Had we only had like 2 Muslim majority countries who were members at the UN Human Rights Council who voted for the motion, we would have gotten a chance to hold China accountable, at least in the international stage. However, we missed this opportunity. So like we have said, China uses Belt and BRI to silence the Islamic world. China's economic and political influence in the Islamic world plays a significant role in keeping the Muslim majority countries silent or even complicit sometimes with the Uyghur genocide. So this is in the last part of the report we speak about the countries, including Turkey, Azerbaijan, and then Arab countries, UAE, Qatar, then Malaysia, Indonesia, Pakistan. We have outlined China's attempts to influence the government, the foreign policy of those countries so that they don't speak out against Uyghur genocide. We have also outlined China's attempts to influence the Islamic NGOs, like in Indonesia, to keep them silent on the Uyghur genocide. So this is the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, please, I'd be glad to answer in the Q&A session. And we have just published a report on our website as well. If you go to uygurstudy.org, you'll be able to read and download the report. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Abdul for the presentation regarding the Uyghur studies. And yeah, we've seen a lot of information regarding the how actually China against the Muslim Uyghur. So we'll have like response or intervention from the several organizations that actually we already invited here. First of all, I would like to give the floor to President of OIC Youth Indonesia, Ms. Astrid Nadia Rizkita, to give the intervention.
Yeah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Assalamualaikum and good evening in local time Jakarta and afternoon everyone to our counterparts from Center for Uyghur Studies, to the project manager, Mr. Abdul Muqtadir, all the way from Canada, and even Miss Moderator, I see she's on the way and currently also in the US, mashallah. As especially regarding the report that is in discussion and has been presented elaborately and very eloquently by Mr. Abdul Muqtadir. As a young person, we would like to draw your attention to the recent report, and it has a very specific title regarding Islamophobia in China and the attitudes of Muslim countries towards it. And this report consists of 4 chapters, already highlighting about the Islamophobia in China, and the second chapter about the China's war in Islam, and number 3, which is highlighting the current issues that globally we are facing, is China's disinformation campaign in the Islamic world. And number 4 is the attitude of Muslim countries. Already highlighted in the report are the attempts, or rather stated in the report, are the failures of the OIC as the platform for the collective voice for the Ummah. So it stated about the several high-level meetings in the OIC fails, in the resolution fails to raise the Uyghur issue, and the other attitudes of Muslim countries or Muslim majority countries divided in the report, namely the Turkic region, mentioned in the report Azerbaijan and Turkey, as well as the Middle East, North Africa region, South Asia, or Southeast Asia rather. And as some intervention towards the report, we see and we believe that the treatment of Uyghur Muslims in China is essentially Islamophobia, regardless whether as stated that there are Hui Muslims, right? And they are considered and recognized by the government. Because why? Because the treatment of Uyghur Muslims in China is rooted in not only religious, but also ethnic discrimination against a specific Muslim minority group, number 1, and second, against a specific ethnic minority group, right? And this discrimination takes many forms, as mentioned in the report, including forced detention of millions. We're not talking about thousands, but we're talking about millions of Uyghur Muslims in concentration camp, forced labor, as well as cultural and religious oppression. Not only that, but there has already been reports from human rights organizations, independent media, and statements and reports from former detainees that they receive abuse and mistreatment of Muslims in those Chinese concentration camps. And what they experience in the camps include torture, and also for women, especially this is something that this issue is something that we need to highlight, is harassment, rape, and forced sterilization. And this all constitutes not only Islamophobia, but also already several steps towards ethnic cleansing. And we believe that the human rights aspect of this issue cannot be ignored. We are members of global community, and especially as Indonesians, we have a big responsibility to stand against this issue, as we are the largest Muslim majority country, and we believe that we must take leadership role in addressing this issue of Islamophobia, especially, as well as the current violations and attempts of ethnic cleansing that is happening right now as we speak. And it's also interesting to note that the current conditions in other countries. The report mentioned that especially some countries' attitudes, already mentioned in the report, attitudes of Indonesia, but maybe this is something that will be elaborated more by other speakers after me. But basically, as Muslim Ummah, we must come together to discuss this issue, and the least we can do is within the scope that we can discuss as civil society, as academia, especially as academia. We must continue to raise awareness about the issue of Islamophobia in China, and academia can contribute by organizing seminars, workshops, and conferences to raise awareness and educate people about this issue. And we also believe that this webinar is a good starting point to gather and convene people across border. And as young people, as youth, as students, as university students, we can also contribute to participate as well in these events through organizing these workshops or seminars, and also attending these events, and even start to write more research about it. And lastly, I cannot stress enough the importance of disseminating this report as wide as possible, as it is important to raise awareness and educate people about the issue so that we can work together, find solutions, and hopefully put an end to the persecution of Uyghur Muslims. With that, I think this ends my intervention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much for such a thoughtful intervention from young perspective. And also you mentioned that it's very important to raise awareness regarding the Islamophobia that's happened in Uyghur. Now I will give the floor to Dr. Asep Setiawan. He's the lecturer at the Muhammadiyah University, Jakarta, and he also always been together to Central Study for Uyghur for a while, and keep supporting the Central Study for Uyghur. All right, so now I give the floor to Dr. Asep Setiawan from Muhammadiyah University, Jakarta. And a quick remind you that I give like 7 to 10 minutes to give the intervention. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to attend this webinar. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon you all in the world, in Washington and Jakarta and Indonesia around. I hope next week I will be in New York, so we can see whether in Washington or New York with brothers in US. Please, I would like to put the report on Islamophobia in the larger context, so we can understand then how this so-called Islamophobia from the China's government has implication not only for Ummah in domestically, but also in the large context. Let me share my little bit what's so-called to explain the context of the reports, that I believe there are contradiction in China policy toward Islamic Ummah. Domestically, has explained in the paper, has explained in the report that China has a single policy toward Islamic Ummah domestically, which we call maybe a hostile policy. I think in general there is no single what so-called is support of Islamic Ummah, but only superficial. So we can see that in general, there is no sympathy, empathy from from China's state to the Ummah in terms of domestic. And also we can see also from the report that almost China has given minor, for example, just for to living in their area. Even there is no such role, I think, in general. There are also what so-called in report has been what so-called ethnic cleansings and then prosecution and etc. So this is the situation of the report is reflects of the general policy of China's government to Islamic Ummah. Also, we can see, I note that in general, China has portrayed Islam as a tool of propaganda. So as mentioned in the report, they invite the scholars around in Asia, even from Indonesia. Some of Indonesian scholars said there is no problem in Uyghur, there is no problem in Xinjiang. So this is another way, as I mentioned in the report, just to invite to show as a propaganda tools. This is very sad to me that China state is not portrayed as a Muslim as supposed to be a human being in a state or in the world. China is also has almost no allocated Muslims in the central government. I want to quote in the later short presentation that the other city there is due to the global situation they have allocate Muslim even in local government in central government. So this is the situation as mentioned in Islamophobia. But brother, I think the term of Islamophobia is quite shocking. This is not phobia. This is persecution. This is what so-called is suppression. So repression. So this is the report is. I think it must be have a strong words to portray what the Uyghur Muslim has been experienced so far. But in international policies, I just want to remind all of us that China is very active to be perceived, to be portrayed, to be as a friend of Islamic majority states, Muslim majority. I mean, Indonesia, for example, Saudi. So this is also it's very hard also to understand how the Muslim let China be constructed as a friend. So this is one of the other is some kind have to discuss in very deeply, and then we can have some kind of solution on this policy. If you look at the other things in international policies, as the China is very intensive in access to political and economic sources in Middle East. If you look at the case of Saudi and China cooperation, China, the latest have signed $50 billion in many infrastructure projects. So this is how the China internationally portrayed as a friend, as a collaboration, as a partnership in building the other state, Muslim. And China is also in recent diplomatic move. There's China involved in peacemaking between Iran and Saudi Arabia. So this is some kind international situation have to unfortunate to the to even OIC as blind to see that what happened in Uyghur. I think this is the problem of Muslim countries to help and to have to assist of Uyghur in achieve of the its policy and its goals. And I just want to mention to the others I have just landed from UK and I have been more than 20 years. There is small population basically, even though in China also at 1 or 2% of Muslim, but in this is a situation have to push that even the minority, you know, they have a recent development. Mayor of London is Sadiq Khan, is Muslim, and there is a deputy minister. So this is maybe to some extent, this is one and another way to have such kind of Islamophobia have to decrease or to decline in other country. And as we can learn from the UK, that is some kind of positive attitude so far. Even though I experience also in UK has also hostile from certain people's even small political party before that they have to give push on a negative image of Muslim in the UK. So in conclusion, as mentioned in the report, that there is a big challenge for Muslim in China, that central government has a hostile policy to Muslim there, even though they have a propaganda to the world that they have no problem at all. As mentioned in the report, also they have what's so-called is a digital wall to prevent what the Muslim Ummah in Uyghur has be well known around the world. But I believe the report will give additional understanding that there is Islamophobia in China. Thank you very much for the very short presentation. Hopefully we can have to discuss it later. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr. Asep, for the great intervention. And also, Dr. Asep remind us we have to, to gain this issue, to raise this issue, we have to have such an active, activity movement. So this issue will be, heard by other country, and the country will respond to this issue. All right. Now we'll move on to the next speaker. I'm going to invite Mr. Tandan Taufik Lubis from Majelis Nasional Kahmi to give 7 to 10 minutes intervention regarding the report of this issue. Mr. Tantan, are you here? All right. Okay.
Hello, Miss Ruru. I'm
Yeah,
still
I
on
can
my
hear you.
I'm still on my way to out of the city. So please give me opportunity in the last speaker.
Okay. Sure. Okay.
The sound unmuted. Muted.
Sorry. All right. Thank you very much. Now I'll give the floor to Dr. Nur Isma from University Nahdlatul Ulama Yogyakarta. Dr. Nur Isma, I give you 7 to 10 minutes to give the intervention.
Thank you, Ms. Ruru, for the time. So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Honorable guests, esteemed colleague and my fellow brothers and sisters in Islam, it's my pleasure to take part in this launch of the Islamophobia report. On behalf of Nahdlatul Ulama University in Yogyakarta, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all the attendees who have joined us today. Islamophobia, unfortunately, has become a global phenomenon, and its impact is felt by Muslims all over the world. In recent years, we have witnessed the alarming rise of Islamophobia in China. As a result, the Muslim community in China has been subjected to various forms of discrimination and persecution, including the internment of over 1 million Uyghur Muslims in concentration camp. As I learned from the report, that the report is divided into several sections, each of which examines a specific aspect of Islamophobia in China. The first part of the report examines anti-Islamic sentiment and behavior in China from the perspective of xenophobia, which is deeply rooted in China's history. The second section of the report is dedicated to China's war on Islam in East Turkestan, referred to by the Chinese regime as Xinjiang. This section details the crimes committed by the Chinese communist regime against Islam and Muslims since its occupation of East Turkestan in 1949. The third section of the report introduces the Chinese regime's massive propaganda methods enveloping the world. The final section of the report presents specific examples of the attitudes of Muslim countries toward Islamophobia in China, particularly the Uyghur genocide. It's important to note that the issue of Islamophobia in China is not an of discrimination, and as Muslims, it's our duty to stand in solidarity with our brothers and sisters who are facing these injustices and to raise our voice against all forms of Islamophobia. After the seminar that we conducted last time in Yogyakarta, thinking to have a follow-up program, which is research publication into a special volume that involve Indonesian researchers and also researchers from Center for Uyghur Studies. But this idea still need to be discussed further. In conclusion, the launch of this report is a significant step toward rising we hope that as a call to us who believe in justice and equality, people can live in peace, in harmony. This is from our attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Nur Isma, is there any problem in the internet? All right. Okay, so yeah, due to the, I don't know, internet problem or maybe internet problems. So I would like to continue to the next intervention. Now I will give the floor to I will give the floor to Dr. Tiar Anwar from Central Board of Persis.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Ruru, and I see Mr. Abdul Hakim Idris. Assalamualaikum, and also Dr. Asep Setiawan, Astrid, and all participants. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I will give speech in bahasa inshallah for effective the speech. Inshallah, Mrs. Ruru will point what I say inshallah. Masalah Uighur ini setelah tadi saya mendengarkan ya laporan dan juga komentar dari para pembicara, Dr. Asep dan yang lain-lain. Saya melihat ada satu persoalan yang kadang luput ya kita kita perhatikan, yaitu masalah sejarah. Jadi pemerintah Cina ini banyak menggunakan argumen sejarah untuk mentreatment masalah Uighur. Jadi mereka ini sudah membaca bahwa dalam perjalanan sejarah orang Uighur ini masyarakat Uighur ini kan sebetulnya adalah masyarakat petarung ya. Mereka ini adalah orang-orang Turki, orang-orang Turkistan yang memang sejarahnya orang Turkistan, orang Mongol, orang Tatar itu adalah manusia-manusia petarung ya, termasuk juga di sana nanti ada suku Kurdi juga. Jadi sejarah perlawanan masyarakat Turki di mana-mana ini adalah sesuatu yang saya dalam tanda petik ini sangat menakutkan sebetulnya secara historis bagi Cina, karena tidak pernah ada yang bisa mengalahkan Cina dalam sejarah itu kecuali orang-orang Turki, orang-orang Mongol gitu. Nah, maka dari argumen sejarah inilah yang kemudian ya mereka ketika ingin menguasai kawasan Turkistan Timur itu mereka sudah berhitung bahwa mereka akan berhadapan dengan komunitas Turki yang yang jiwa petarungnya itu sangat kuat begitu. Nah, inilah saya kira poin terdasar. Jadi analisis kebudayaan mereka ini juga cukup cukup menarik ya untuk dianalisis kenapa Cina mentreatment Uighur ini beda dengan kepada orang-orang Muslim dari suku Han misalnya itu masyarakat Hui ya, suku Hui. Nah, ini saya kira yang menjadi persoalan yang sangat penting yang kadang-kadang kita luput gitu. Ini analisis ini saya kira harus digarisbawahi dulu. Nah, ini makanya nanti beda ya, Cina dia memperlakukan orang Indonesia misalnya atau orang Arab gitu, dengan memperlakukan orang Uighur gitu. Nah, ini analisnya adalah historical dan cultural gitu. Itu yang pertama. Terus yang kedua, di dalam sejarah penaklukan Cina terhadap Turkistan Timur ini juga bukan perkara baru. Ini adalah perkara yang sudah berlangsung cukup lama, sudah berkali-kali, dan memang ketika dalam revolusi Cina 1912 saja kan Turkistan Timur ini sempat memerdekakan diri. Nah, makanya akhirnya kan pendekatannya itu adalah pendekatan Security Act gitu ya. Security Act ini digunakan oleh Cina untuk menekan masyarakat Uighur, dan bahkan ketika pendekatan Security Act yang soft ini tidak bisa dilakukan, maka mereka melakukannya dengan pendekatan yang sangat despotik, kasar, dan bahkan cenderung istilah Abdul Hakim dalam bukunya itu adalah genosida. Nah, jadi ini saya kira sampai pada taraf ini treatment dari Cina inilah yang menjadi persoalan kita hari ini, dan ini saya kira ini bisa bisa kita sebut sebagai satu kejahatan kemanusiaan karena pelanggaran terhadap hak asasi manusia. Terus yang kedua adalah juga ini merupakan wujud dari ketakutan terhadap Islam, karena yang diserang dari masyarakat Uighur dalam analisis kulturalnya Cina, Uighur ini dia melawan Cina dengan membawa identitas Islam. Maka semua yang berbau Islam di Turkistan Timur, di Xinjiang, ini dihapuskan gitu, dan tidak boleh muncul sebagai identitas dari masyarakat Uighur ini. Nah, inilah yang kemudian ya ini dihubungkan dengan deklarasi anti Islamophobia dari PBB, dan saya kira ini relatif berhubungan ya, sehingga kita bisa juga menyerang atau memprotes Cina ini dari sudut itu. Pertama dari masalah genosidanya, yang kedua dari masalah Islamofobianya ini. Nah, cuma karena dasar dari perilaku Cina terhadap masyarakat Uighur atau Turkistan Timur adalah ketakutan yang sifatnya laten, kultural, kemudian sifatnya historical gitu. Nah, ini kita juga harus memikirkan pendekatan kepada Cina ini juga harus menunjukkan ya argumen-argumen bahwa hubungan Cina dengan Islam, dengan orang-orang Islam itu tidak harus selalu hubungan yang mereka anggap sebagai hubungan yang mengancam keberadaan Cina ini. Nah, ini saya kira pendekatan ini mungkin bisa bisa dilakukan ya oleh kita umat Islam di Indonesia terutama, karena saya kira umat Islam Indonesia ini punya pengalaman panjang untuk menawarkan satu pendekatan kultural, memberikan satu perspektif ya yang tidak harus selalu dalam konteks perang ini. Nah, ini saya kira juga masyarakat Uighur, termasuk ini juga dari Center for Uyghur Studies juga harus mulai juga memikirkan bagaimana masyarakat Uighur ini mendekati pemerintah Cina ini juga jangan dalam pendekatan separatisme gitu ya, ingin melepaskan diri dari Cina, bikin negara sendiri gitu ya, dalam taraf awal, tetapi harus juga melakukan satu pendekatan yang sifatnya kultural win-win solution, yang terpenting adalah bagaimana menyelamatkan Islam di Turkistan Timur ini. Nah, saya kira karena waktu kita terbatas ya, Mbak Astrid, Mbak Ruru, I think my speech enough. Thank for listening, and please, Mrs. Ruru, for pointing what I say. Thanks. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Tier Anwar, for the intervention. He highlighted several things, and he mentioned that he see one of the problem here is regarding the historical issue and also cultural issue. And he mentioned that actually Uyghur community or Uyghur society. So this is what makes actually China scared for those people. And actually China also recognized that it's very difficult to, let's say, fight the Uyghur, to colonize the East Turkestan. And the second thing, he mentioned that actually what's happened in East Turkestan actually is not the new issue. This is been like long time ago, and how actually China use the security act, and China also again use the security from the soft and also hard treatment to push Uyghur. Another thing that he mentioned, I'm going to say like Uyghur against China, they bring the Islamic identity. So China actually tried to remove the Islamic identity from Uyghur to fight the Uyghur Muslim. And in his opinion, to fight back, we have more highlight in the genocide and also the Islamophobia issue. Now, the last part, he mentioned that actually the challenge and the next step that we should do, or Uyghur Muslims should do, to give another treatment, I mean, see from another perspective, one of the example to close to China, and find another way other than separatism. So maybe the easy way we find the solution, the answers by close to them, and find another better response than do the separatism. All right, that actually what he mentioned. And now I will give the floor again to give the intervention. I would like to hear and invite Mr. Nirwan Shafrin, PhD, from a representative of Al Wasliyah. I give you 7 to 10 minutes. The floor is yours.
All right, for a while,
Please do on your video so we can
yes, that's why
see.
I am trying to fix my camera, but since due to technical error, I don't know what's going on to my camera here. So
All right, you can
please,
continue.
yeah, please allow me to to speak without a camera. Can I? Hello?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Sure.
All right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much for the organizers for having this webinar, and my salam to all the participants in this webinar, especially to Mr. Abdul Hakim, and also IC Youth President of OIC Youth Indonesia, and Mr. Asep, and all colleagues that are present in this webinar. I speak on behalf of Al Jam'iyatul Wasliyah. Of course, as a Muslims, as stated in the hadith, that we are just like a body. When one of parts of our body is heart, of course, the rest of the body also can feel that suffering. So I think this attitude that is taught by our Prophet should be should be practiced in our present lives, in which that we Muslims are brothers, and we have the same concerns. So what is happening in Muslim society in Uyghur, it is not only the suffering that is felt by those brothers and sisters, but also we here in Indonesia also feel the same sufferings and the same feelings that we cannot ignore this sort of things. The second point that I would like to say is that as stated in the report presented by our brother, it is very, very clear that the issue is not simply about Islam versus China's government, but it is the issue of humanity. I mean, even if those who are infected by this sort of things, I mean, even if they are not Muslims, I think we should also have a concerns. I mean, it just happened that those who now become victims of Muslims, then, as I said at the beginning, as a Muslim, we are just like a body. We feel that suffering is very deep. That's because that they are our brothers. But I said, this is the issue of humanity. This is a violation of human rights. Whoever suffer from these sort of things, we should give them what we call is our support to defend their rights, because this is the atrocities done by the state, done by the government. So of course this is very difficult. I mean, of course we are not pessimists, to fight for the rights of our brothers, because as we know, and then also highlighted by our speakers in this webinar, in which now China seems to be one of the states that is seems to be, I mean, very strong. Yeah, even now the issue that we see in the global context, the war again. I mean, the war between China and the U.S. and whatever it is, and we see this, of course, in the global context, seems to be very difficult for us now to fight for the rights of our brothers in Uyghur. However, of course, we have said we should not be pessimistic about these sort of things. And some of brothers have also suggested some of the steps that we can take. Yeah, it's just like the diplomacy, also the cultural, what we call is the cultural approach, as mentioned by Dr. Tiar. And also, I think the most important thing that we have to do right now is that to raise the awareness among Muslims. I'm very sure not many Muslims are very aware about the issue that is happening in Uyghur. Though we read in the through, I mean, some of the reports, probably we can find in the internet, but the report that is presented just now, based on facts and based on research, I think is not known by many. That's why I suggested in this webinar that this report should be translated to Arabic, especially, and also to Indonesia, yeah, because we are very concerned about this also. And then we know that now, as also mentioned by Mr. Abdul Hakim, it is very unfortunate that now China seems to have a very strong influence on many Muslim government and many Muslims leaders. And some of those leaders, it is very unfortunate that they, I mean, they try to defend, I mean, to protect their, what do you call this, their interests, which sometimes the interest of the larger interest of the Muslims seems to be ignored. As
Very much, Mr. Nirwan Shafrin, PhD from Al Wasliya. I'm so sorry because I'm on my way, so it's a little bit like crowded and the things. But the important thing, we still meant to discuss this issue. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I still miss Mr. Tantan Taufik, so I would like to give the floor to Mr. Tantan Taufik Lubis from Majelis Nasional Kahmi, or the alumni of Islamic Student Association.
Siap, Adinda. Aduh, ini meskipun masih di jalan, kita try my best to deliver space. Ya, anyway, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ya, innal hamdalillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh wa na'udzu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أما بعد يقول تبارك وتعالى بكتابه العزيز أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنما المؤمنون إخوة وقال في آية الأخرى واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا. First of all, I would like to thank to the committee, Wise Youth Indonesia, especially to the president of Wise Youth Indonesia, Ms. Astrid Nadia Rizkita, not only for making this webinar tonight, but also for her passion in developing network Muslim Ummah around the world, so we can edge together in this webinar tonight to discuss about Islamophobia, the rising of Islamic phobia in China. And also would like to thank to the Uyghur Center of Studies, my brother Hakim and team in Washington, D.C., and all the speakers here. I couldn't mention one by one, from Nahdlatul Ulama University, from Muhammadiyah University Jakarta, from Al-Wasliyah, from YCU, and from Pimpinan Pusat Versis. I would like to start my opinion from the history of the Islam in the China. As we know, the China country is the home of very old Muslim. The message of Islam in China was voiced shortly after the Prophet Muhammad died in around 632 Masehi. And who was the brought the Islamic religion to China? He is the Sahabat Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, namely Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas. It is the brother of Muhammad and very famous in that time. On the order of the Prophet companion and under direction of the Khalifah Utsman bin Affan. I got this reference from the book written by the Iqbal Safi in a brief history of Muslim in China, released by the Institute of Strategic Studies in Islamabad, Pakistan. And you know, the arrival of delegation brought the Chinese people in contact with Islamic teaching for the first time. My brother, sister, physical evidence of the spread of Islam is in China and its region also very exists. We know that the most in Canton, Guangxi, and Jilin and another region are the oldest mosques in China. And that the fact that Islam in China is very old and very existing and established. And as we know also, today there is 30,000 mosques. If I'm wrong, please give me correction. But as I know, and before COVID, I came to Beijing also, and I hear about the news that the mosque will be growing up until now and will be growing until more than 30,000 mosques in the China. And it is possible that the increase in number will be accompanied by the distraction of mosques and the suppression of the Muslim, as we got the information from the the news, not only the growing of the mosques in China, but also the growing of destruction and what we call destruction to the Muslim home in the China region, not only in Uyghur or in Urumqi or in Xinjiang region, but also in another cities in China. Brother and sister Muslim around the world, Assalamualaikum. Islamophobia is not only happen in China, but we know today Islamophobia in China is very rampant. Stereotype about Muslim as a violent outsider in China have long existed. The states of China is very afraid to the Muslim in China because of his what prejudice. And what we call since the Black September, since the Black September, the party states has amplified long-held antagonism and stereotype toward Muslim. And the result is pacification campaign against the people presented by the party states, China's Communist Party, but to domestic and international audience as terrorists. As we know, the narrative from the state party, China's Communist Party in the China, that the Uyghur people, not only the minority community of Muslim in China, but also the outsider who become the terrorists and then make the fighting to the official government in China. What the impact of that situation? The China's Communist Party now is taking aim at all Muslim by bulldozing mosques, shattering Islamic bookstore, removing Arabic script from the storefront and restaurant. Especially the restaurant, in my experience, in 2099, I saw by myself, by my eyes, that the words of Arabic should be down from the restaurant in everywhere in the China. So when I took lunch in one restaurant, I have no see the Arabic words in the restaurant in the China. And the party goals seem to be the complete assimilation of Muslim and the eradication of Islamic practices in China. Most concerning, there is a fear that the re-education campaign will continue to spread to other Muslim ethnic minority, not only to Uyghur ethnic, but also to Kazakh ethnic and also to Hui ethnic, that majority from Muslim. My brother and sister, now Muslim in China are already particularly marginalized, not only in Xinjiang or happen to Uyghur, but also to another ethnic Muslim in China. They make up a small fraction of the overall population, and a majority of Han China citizens have internalized state-driven narrative about Muslim, posing a threat to state stability. So the Uyghur people, putting by the state of the Chinese as the public enemy, as the state enemy. This is possible because of Islamophobia in China, using Islamophobia in North America and Europe and another Islamophobia in around the world. As we know, when the Islamophobia rising in the world, not only in America and Europe, China using this moment to rising the Islamophobia in China. So the narrative from the people of the China in the social media, so very harassing and making the Muslim China as the official state of the world, not only official state for the China's country. So it is the fact for the Muslim in China. They got prototype from the government of China as the terrorist and also as the state of the enemy. My brother and sister, today we also know there is a number of vocal proponents within the international community, including our movement in Indonesia, attempting to expose the human rights crisis among Uyghurs. Yet, the unwillingness of the world leader, both Muslim and non-Muslim, to commit the Magnitsky sanction or to even do more than reprimand China privately, highlight two things, in my opinion. Yeah. First, Islamophobia is institutional and deeply embedded in the global flow of capital. And secondly, Uyghur and their Muslim brethren in China are not considered the right kind of Muslim by the Saudi establishment or the Middle Eastern power broker. I think this condition is make us very sad because the Muslim country mainstream like Saudi Arabia, like Pakistan or another country who have the biggest population of Muslim, they keep quiet to this issue. They choose to not say anything about this issue. So it is the big problem for Muslim Ummah. We have to rise our campaign about Islamophobia in Uyghur in Xinjiang. So not only the public would know about this issue, but also they should be aware to the harassment to Islamic people in Uyghur. And you know, when the Communist Party China in China doing and using the rising of Islamophobia in Europe and America, this is the genius of China government by harnessing global Islamophobia. You know, the government of China has created a laboratory of authoritarianism in Xinjiang, as they quickly rounded their Muslim citizens. Muslim and non-Muslim around the world turned a blind eye. He didn't make anything. He didn't go anything, and he chose to quit with his mouth. But now, with the situation, it is our responsibility, not only as a Muslim, but also as the global citizen, to dismantle the state-driven narrative and to boycott the international communication company that embroil in business dealing in Xinjiang and around the world, and provide new technologies and facilities used by China's security, while continuing the pretend that everything is business as usual. And my brother and sister, maybe even ardent Islamophobia will begin to take notice when they realize that this issue goes far beyond China's Muslim citizen. And while China government work to perfect its own and facial recognition technology, and the security states in why we have never seen before. So we have to be careful. Perhaps people will start to pay attention, not because they view about Islam have changed, but because they fear become the next victim of this new repressive technology. So we can highlight that if the words know about that and rising the campaign of Islamophobia, not only because of he changed the view to the Islam, but he is worried become the next victim in the new repressive of technology of the China. As we know, the rising of technology is in China make us very, so it is like in the aquarium. When we in my home, when we in the public area, and the silent geography, they still can seeing us in every moment. So our task today, we have to raise our campaign about Islamophobia in China. So the public, the people around the world, not only know about this case, but also aware and make movement to advocating the victim of Muslim Uyghur in China. I think it is my opinion and my view on Islamophobia rising in China. Hope we'll give the other view from another session. Thank you. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wallahumma biqil aqwa mitariq. Nun wal kolami wa maisturun. Fastabikul khairat. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm really sorry. I'm still on my way. So I cannot continuing my speech. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yeah, Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Mr. Tantan, for this perspective, the also the fact, and of course, useful information. I'm sure we were, I mean, like, Mr. Nirwan has a problem. Before now, I will give again the floor to you about 2 to 3 minutes to finish all the speech and also wrap up the speech. Mr. Nirwan, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. I'm very sorry because it's just suddenly disconnected. Let me share my views a little bit to complete my presentation. As I said, first I would like to suggest that the report to be translated into various languages so that the Muslims and also non-Muslim as well could be aware about the situation in Xinjiang, or about the situation of Muslims Uyghur in China. The second thing, Al-Wasliyah in particular stands for justice, for humanity, and for the rights of the people of Uyghur. And we have tried, Al-Wasliyah, we have tried to take a step by having and organizing a kind of seminar about Uyghur in Medan, I think a few weeks ago. This is also part of our attempts to circulate and to spread the news and the issue about Muslim Uyghur in China to the student especially, so that they can also take their steps, take their what we call these actions, how to help their Muslims, their Muslim brothers and sisters in China. And the third thing, I think our brothers from Uyghur, especially, to have a strong cooperations, especially with the Islamic organizations in Indonesia. And Alhamdulillah, I think Al-Wasliyah, one of the organization, is being approached by our brothers. And of course, also I think other organization like Nahdlatul Ulama, Muhammadiyah, Persis, Matlu Anwar, and others, I think also should be approached, and so that these organizations, sometime or one time can also deliver and what we call this, make an influence on the people in the government, so that the government also can take their actions to help our brothers and Muslims in Uyghur. Because I think the issue is now cannot be settled and tackled just through NGOs, but we need also the support from the government. As stated by our brothers just now, it is of course very shameful for us Muslims, Muslim countries in particular, because it seems that Muslim countries do not have a voice, do not also speak up for the rights of their brothers and sisters in Uyghur. Many Muslim countries seems to keep quiet, not saying anything about the violations, about the atrocities that are committed by the China's government to its own people who happen to be Muslims. Actually, because Uyghur also the people of the Chinese government that should whose rights should be protected, whose rights should be protected, whose what we call this life should be also protected. But it's very unfortunate that the government failed to do so. So I think we have to voice these concerns, and I think some of few of the Western countries, including British, I think, and also USA, has at least voiced their concerns about the issue of Muslims in Uyghur. But it is very shameful and very unfortunate that Muslims, the Muslim majority countries, it seems that do not speak anything about this issue, about the violations that is happening in Uyghur. So again, to close my speech, we, on behalf of Jam'iyatul Wasliyah, will give our strong support to the fight and also to the right of our brother Muslims in Uyghur. Then inshallah we'll take our some actions to help our brothers there so that their right can be regained and can be protected. Thank you very much for the all the participants. We hope that our brothers in Uyghur can again gain their independent, I mean their rights to live as a normal people whose rights are protected. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Dr. Nairman. For your strong commitment, a couple weeks ago I attend also in Medan, and we have like a great moment at the time. Your chairman give a strong commitment to, to raise the awareness regarding the issue of Uyghur. So thank you very much for your commitment. Sorry. All right. So thank you for all the speakers and that already give the intervention. Now I would like to give the floor to maybe give 1 or 2, 3 questions to the speakers and also the Center for Uyghur. Anyone who wants to give any question, please raise the hand and directly talk and unmute your audio. All right, I'll give 30 seconds more to give to prepare the floor. Who wants to ask a question?
Okay, assalamu alaikum. We are not able to hear Sister Ro. Maybe she's on the way. The connection is went something wrong. But I will take this opportunity to thanks for the speakers delivering very good speech and expressing the support for the Uyghur Muslims. We are very thankful. And please let me thank our team. With our team, we were not able to produce these reports. We have here our brother, Mr. Mehmet Tohti Ataullah. And we have here our brother, Alkan Noyan. And we have here our brother, Abdul Muqtadir Udun. And our advocacy manager, Mr. Hazrat Ali Wushur. And we have some others who helped us to write these reports, but they don't want to publish their names, some after in different countries. And with our the team support, we are able to we were able to bring these reports, and we already did our booklets to introduce the Uyghur Muslims to the Muslim majority countries. And we are planning to publish next the short history, a brief history of Uyghurs and East Turkestan. And we are preparing some Uyghur personality to introduce to the Muslim world who contribute the Islamic civilizations. And we are focusing and working on to introduce the Uyghurs from our history, culture, geography, current political situations, and our struggle. So it's very important to have a partner like you, from Nahdlatul Ulama to Muhammadiyya to Al-Wasiyya, from Persis and the OIC youth and the other Kahmi and the sisters like Astrid and Nuru, helping us those to get, bring our message through. Inshallah, we will have next our event on May 9th in Malaysia. We will with our partners there and at the universities and some media will again talk about these reports. And as you know, right now there are enough evidence what Chinese crimes against humanity, conducting Uyghur genocides, and the seeing Islam, the religion of Islam, like a mental disease, Muslim people like backwardness, and we have UN human rights reports. We have verdicts from the Independent Uyghur Tribunal. We have many data and analysis from the some independent institutions, and then we have a leaked document from Chinese police data. So still, we have to bring all those documents to the Muslim Ummah and the Muslim world, so they can see themselves in fact and data and make right decision. I think this is our obligation to work toward those issues, inshallah. And I'm very thankful, you guys had us, in Jakarta Muhammad University, beautiful international seminar, Yogyakarta, and Nahdlatul Ulama University, very good conference. In Bandung, our brothers and Persis there, received us very well and very supportive. And in Medan, we have, very strong base there as a Al-Wasliya community, seeing the Uyghur issue like themselves. So, and even in the Potaniak, we met with the Muhammadiyya regional board there. They are very interesting to know these issues. I think we could have in the future some impact in Muslim majority countries, because the Uyghur issue is an Islamic issue. It's human rights issue. It's everything, but we have to have our supports from our Muslim brothers and sisters around the world, from Islamic institutions, from Islamic politicians, Muslim politicians, Muslim media outlets, and at least and then the imams and those areas should make a dua for the Uyghur Muslims, and that's what we are seeking. And again, thank you so much, and I will thank our team member who are working tirelessly behind the scene to bring this issue among the Muslim country. Thank you so much. Jazakumullahu khair.
Mr. Abdul Hakim for the closing remarks, and for those who already give the intervention, attend this meeting, and also looking forward to meeting you all in another agenda and do the impactful action. So let's close the agenda by taking a picture together. I invite you to
can you let me
your
tell
camera.
one word more, please? Ruru, Sururu, and Astrid, and the Nabila, you're angels. You are helping us a lot, with the works. We are very thankful. Almost a year, we spent time together at night and the day, organizing those events in the last trips, and still working behind the scene, organizing these events, inshallah. I lost 3 sisters in concentration camps. And have you, Astrid and Ruyu and Nabila and other sisters and the brothers, I think this is reward from Allah for me personally. This is my thank you so much. Jazakallah khair. This is my last word. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the appreciation. Me, I'm still on my way to another city to meet you, to attend the Indonesian halal bihalal. We do that after the Eid al-Fitr. All right, so please everyone to open the camera, and we're having a great picture. Okay, Miss Asset, could you please to help me to capture the moment? Okay. 1, 2, 3, everybody smile. All right, the second slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you very much for all of you. I know in Indonesia it's quite late, so I let you have some rest. And we, for those who in Western country, we start our things. And that's all for me. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Jazakallah
Thank
khair.
you all.
Jazakallah. Thank you.
Jazakallah.
Alaikum.
Thank you so much, Ruru. Thank you so much, Mr.
Really,
Hakim
Pak
and
Jim.
everyone. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.